All right, welcome back to New Orleans, Super Bowl Radio Row, talking ball with Pat Leonard here on the Believe Network, brought to you by Boom Chaga Mushroom Super Drink, Salaretta for Men, luxury menswear and tailoring in Bergen County, New Jersey, Estate 98 Coffee, and My Bookie Sportsbook. And we are here with a very special guest, Rich Desrosiers, Chief Communications Officer at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Rich, thanks so much for being here.
Hey, thanks for the invitation.
You got it. You got it. So a huge week for you every year around this time. How special was this night at the NFL Honors Show, seeing those four inducted? What is that feeling like, seeing it all come together up on stage?
Tiny bit of relief, to be honest, at first that we got to that point, because the way the selection process is now, the identity of those four is known for, a few days, several days. So to keep the lid on the voting results, to get them to the Super Bowl city, get that unveil at NFL Honors without a lot of that identity being known in advance, to keep that moment special for them. Then when it happens, you can take a deep breath. And there were one or two things that I think, leaked out a little bit in the preceding days, but nothing that took the moment away from those four men last night, which is the important thing for us.
And I can't get enough of the videos when the inductees are informed that you guys share once they are announced. And that Antonio Gates moment, I mean, I was crying in my hotel room watching that. Yeah. How special are those moments in how unique they are and in how emotional they are to all these people?
It's all of the above. And Antonio and LaDainian Tomlinson, who delivered the knock, or what the jargon that we use in that particular case is a reverse knock. So for us, it's a knock when the Hall of Famer goes to the door of the home of the person who's getting the news. Very traditional, knock, knock, knock. Eric Allen opens the door and Randall McDaniel's on the other side.
That was really cool.
In the case of Antonio, it was going to be difficult to go to his house and not have him figure out what might be going on. Just, his living situation where he is. There might, a gate code was going to need to be involved. Why do you need me home at this particular
You have to provide a reason to enter.
So we worked with his agent on a ruse that was going to take him out of his home. He thought he was going to be doing kind of something like this. He was going to go do an appearance.
Got it.
Do a signing. And, Antonio's such a great guy. He's like, when and where? And we said, well, we need you here at this time on this day. And meanwhile, behind the scenes, the film crew and LaDainian were Tomlinson were on the other side of that door. So Antonio goes into this room where he thinks he's going to see a couple of footballs or photos of himself spread out to sign. And instead, there's LaDainian standing there with his gold jacket. So we call those reverse knocks. So, real technical term, I guess.
Make them come to you. Yeah, right.
Right. So two emotional guys, nice embrace, just, really good friends. And I got to be a fly on the wall for that. But because it's so secretive, so staged, so prepared, to make sure I'm not seen, because I don't want, myself and some other people, whether it's Hall of Fame crew or productions crew, we just got to be careful we don't blow the cover, right? He opens the door. We don't want them to see us first. We want them to see the Hall of Famer first.
So like behind a bookcase or something?
I'm around a corner, through a doorway and around the side, so I can't see anything, but I can hear it.
Wow.
So that's kind of neat for me, because now I'm putting my imagination to it. What happened? How did that go? And then I get to see it like everybody else when the show's actually produced. So I found that one particularly poignant. And the same thing with Shannon and Sterling Sharp. That was at Shannon's house, because getting, for Sterling, why would Shannon come to my house again? Kind of on, what's this all about? And you worry about them figuring it out.
That was a unique reverse knock. That one.
So they share an agent. We're talking about, Shannon doesn't get back to the home, his hometown area all that much. Sterling's still in that area, and they just say, we haven't seen, we haven't seen each other for a while. Let's get together. I'm here at the same time you're there, and so the agent kind of worked out they were going to have lunch together. at Shannon's house. And Sterling comes in, and Shannon's waiting for him in a gold jacket. So those are really cool moments, and that's the beginning of that journey for them. And then, of course, this weekend, last night, the unveil at Honors. Today, we had the Merlin Olsen Super Bowl luncheon. They get to really be together as a class for the first time with, today was about 40 other Hall of Famers. So to kind of get brought a little bit deeper into that new clubhouse, that new fraternity that they're part of.
Do any over the years, do any other knocks or reverse knocks jump out to you? Like, we think of how poignant that Gates moment was. Are there others that stand out to you? As it could just be that it was unique.
Yeah, well, one of the ones I think of quickly is Joe Klecko. Joe Klecko got his knock from Joe Namath, and we shot for the moon to even ask Joe Namath if he would do it, because he doesn't do a lot of appearances or a lot of travel too far from kind of his home base, and this was going to require him to come from Florida, back up to New Jersey to Klecko's house.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "No, I'm in. I want to do this." And the ruse for Klecko was his daughter told him, "Let's have lunch," which they do with some frequency. And he says, "Sure, Dad, let's have lunch at your house." And he says, "What do you want to get?" She says, "I don't know. I'll figure something out, and I'll just have DoorDash bring it." So she tells Dad DoorDash is going to be here at 12 o'clock. And meanwhile, she's off to the side, texting the crew. "Okay, he thinks you're coming at 12 o'clock. Okay, we'll be there. Knock, knock, knock." He thinks he's going to the front door to get lunch. Joe Namath's standing there. So that's why, if you go back and look, if folks want to go back and find this, find us on the Hall of Fame website or out on YouTube, just, search for Joe Klecko, knock on the door. Joe's first reaction is, "Honey, Joe Namath has come for lunch." And if you don't know the backstory, I mean, that's cute by itself. But when you realize he thinks there's going to be a guy, woman, some delivery person standing there with a brown bag, and it's Joe Namath, one of the most iconic figures in pro football, you just get a chance to appreciate that. And again, another big embrace between the two of them. And then they went down in Joe Klecko's basement and shot pool for 20 minutes. So how cool is that?
That's beautiful.
I got to be a fly on the wall to watch Joe Klecko and Joe Namath shoot pool. And Joe Namath is really good. Joe Klecko.
You didn't get the winner?
That match would have lasted. Probably never would have even gotten a shot off. Between the two of them are both pretty good.
Wow. So you naturally shifted us there to New York. And of course, a hotly debated topic, in bars across North New Jersey and New York City for years, even during his playing days, was Eli Manning's Hall of Fame candidacy. How did that process work for him this year? A lot of Giants fans, I think, are wondering why he didn't get in and what this means for his chances at getting in the future.
Well, I don't think what happened this year affects his chances at all, because if you look down the line, 6 of the 15 finalists this year were first-year eligible guys, and none of them got in. So I think the committee collectively, and listen, we do our best. And just to be real clear for folks so that they understand the procedure, there are 50 typically. This year we do have one open seat. So this year it was 49 selectors who do the voting. The Hall doesn't vote. The Hall just administers. We supervise the meeting. We make sure that nothing is introduced as evidence that's inappropriate. We're a bit of a judge, really. And we serve kind of in that judicial role to make sure the process is done fairly and equitably. It's exactly at what you think probably transpired. On one side were the people who said 2 Super Bowl MVPs, beat one of the teams that had the Giants not beaten the Patriots, and the Patriots completed the 19-0 season, would be considered the greatest team of all time, just on the sheer fact of being 19-0. And Eli beat them twice with 2 of the most iconic throws in Super Bowl history. The deep ball on the sideline to Manningham, and the helmet catch by David Tyreek. And so that's of course he should be in the Hall of Fame argument, and and I don't know all of his stats off the top of my head, but a good touchdown to interception ratio, the durability is unquestioned.
Right.
One of the most durable quarterbacks in NFL history. Good yard, good solid statistics. And then on the other side of the argument was 117 and 117. And outside of the 2 years that the Giants won the Super Bowl, they didn't win a playoff game. Might be off on this, and Giants
you're
fans
right.
will correct us, right? Never won a playoff game outside of those 2 years.
Yes.
So good debate, and from the Hall of Fame standpoint, it went as it should. It was very fair, it was very deliberative, and it was exactly what, like you said, what everybody's literally been talking about for close to 20 years now since he first started playing. I don't think that this was an indictment of him at all. I think this was more a reflection that the selectors collectively have said, if you need to debate for many, many, many minutes, if you can't just take the microphone and say Peyton Manning, and I know Eli, probably hates being compared to Peyton over and over and over, but the presentation for Peyton Manning was literally, I present for enshrinement to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, Peyton Manning. Any discussion? And the guy who was from the Indianapolis Colts literally just said, that's all he said.
Drop the mic.
Drop the mic. And I think the collective view of the selectors is, if you're not a drop the mic candidate, then let's talk about some others who have been waiting for a long time. And I just think that was the general sentiment this year. You looked at guys like Eric Allen, who's been waiting 19 years, Sterling Sharp, who's been waiting 26.
Wow.
Jared Allen had been a finalist 5 times and had, literally, gotten to the altar a couple times right there. And Antonio Gates last year. Listen, if you feel that Eli Manning should have gotten in on his first year, then I'll bet you probably think DeMarcus Ware should have gotten in on his first year. Antonio Gates should have gotten in on his first year. But this group of selectors that we have right now are really tough on first-year candidates, and it took DeMarcus into a second year, and this time around it took Antonio into a second year. So I fully expect Eli to probably be a finalist again next year, and we'll have the debate again.
Rich, I'm ashamed to say I have not been to the Hall of Fame in person before. My question is, in the Hall of Fame right now, is there a display or a wing or a corner or a room dedicated to those Super Bowl accomplishments of the Giants, like especially the Tyree catch, how special that is? Like, is that already memorialized, kind of Eli's greatness and the Giants' greatness in those moments?
Yeah, we have I would say, gosh, I should probably know a number off the top of my head, but let's say 10 major exhibit areas in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, one of which is the Super Bowl. So all the way back to the original history. And I'm looking up, and as we're talking here, we've got these great Super Bowl banners of the artistry from the original all the way back. We can see Super Bowl I when it wasn't even the Super Bowl. It wasn't named that for a couple of years. And
the World Championship game, huh?
Yes, the AFL NFL World Championship game. We just had Bobby Bell. So going back to what the new class gets to do. So on the Friday after they've been announced, they come to a luncheon. That's where today we had about 40 other Hall of Famers. And we had a short panel discussion with 4 guys who had been in Super Bowls in New Orleans, including Bobby Bell, who played in the first Super Bowl in New Orleans, Super Bowl IV, at Tulane Stadium.
Wow.
So he talked about that experience, and he actually spent a little bit more time talking about Super Bowl I and how he sat on the bench and looked up into the stands, and there were empty seats, and Bobby said, well, of course the seats are empty. The tickets are $12. Who's going to pay $12 for a football game? Of course, again, right, like you're doing right now. Everybody in the audience laughed, and $12 might get you a soda or a popcorn
maybe
this Sunday. Yeah, that's probably about what it's going to go for. So Super Bowl rings. We have every Super Bowl ring. We are the guardian of the Lombardi Trophy. until it's taken off exhibit and brought to the Super Bowl city. And Tiffany's will make we have a generic placeholder on display right now, and shortly after this Super Bowl concludes, the Tiffany Company will make the Super Bowl trophy, the Vince Lombardi Trophy for Super Bowl 60. And we'll make a pretty big show of putting that on display. Last year, we brought in 3 Hall of Famers, put the white gloves on them. They all very methodically placed that on display. And so we had some real fun with that. And I think we probably will again this year because it went pretty well last year. And it was something that our guests could experience there in the museum that day. So yes, the helmet catch, we do a lot with the dynastic teams, some love for, the Steelers of the 70s, the Patriots, the Cowboys of the 90s, the 49ers, so of all of the footprints in the museum, the Super Bowl, I would say, is probably the 3rd or 4th largest.
Wow. Okay. The reason I ask that question is because I'd like to tell you my opinion on the Eli situation and see your reaction. So, and I'm writing this for the New York Daily News today for the Saturday newspaper. I think the only thing that's controversial about Eli's legacy is the Hall of Fame debate. In other words, once you add the Hall of Fame conversation to his career, it becomes a situation of for and against, right? And so, yeah, I admittedly would be somebody who's more on the against side, but not someone who would be minimizing his historic accomplishments, his durability, his reliability, his ability to handle New York. And so I actually think that, listen, do I think he'll get in one day? Probably. And that'll be great for him. I'll be happy for him. He's a great person,
yes,
great representative of football, Giants, everything. But if he never were to get in, hypothetically, I think that him standing as the one of the top performers, most clutch players in the game's history, one of the centerpieces of some of the greatest games and moments in the biggest sport and game in the world, there's nothing wrong with that.
I would agree completely. And I'll give you somebody whose name comes up a lot in the debate is Jim Plunkett. Winner of 2 Super Bowls, not a 2-time MVP, but winner of 2 Super Bowls, resurrected his career. Their career arcs are different. Jim Plunkett was the overall #1 draft pick and went to New England and just got the stuffing beat out of him, and physically, mentally, emotionally, and needed to get built back up, and that happened when he lands in Oakland, and with the Raiders, and so a lot of the people who are big Raider fans in general and/or Plunkett fans in particular say, wait, everybody wants to talk about Eli. Don't forget our guy. And so I do think there's some parallels with those 2 careers. And like you said, no matter the ultimate outcome of that vote, those guys are going to have their fans and their very loyal supporters. And I think if I heard what you're saying correctly, I don't think a lack of a gold jacket tarnishes Eli's overall legacy. I think it's the cherry on top.
Agreed. Totally. All right, let's have some fun to close it out. Here comes the boom, brought to you by Boom Chaga Mushroom Super Drink. This is turning our focus now, Rich, to the big game, the Super Bowl.
Okay.
Eagles Chiefs. I'm asking you to pick a player or a coach who is going to make the biggest boom impact in this game.
Wow.
No wrong answers to this one. It's fun.
There is no wrong answers, and I gotta apologize. I'm blanking on his first name. The defensive tackle for the Eagles,
Jalen Carter.
Jalen Carter. Thank you for the help there. Listen, I think if somebody can lower the boom, it's going to be him, and I do think that if he can provide some pressure up the middle and force Patrick to be uncomfortable a little bit, I think that's the Eagles' recipe if they're going to win.
All right. Look good, play good, brought to you by Salaretta for Men. They get me right for Super Bowl Radio Row and every game day. Rich, among those who have been inducted into the hall, maybe we could go to the lunch today when everyone was together. Does anybody stand out to you as always dressing the part, looking nicest?
Wow.
Maybe they wear a unique jacket every time they arrive for a special Hall of Fame party.
Well, if they're at an event like today, we ask them to wear their gold jacket, and the best thing about
So they all look good.
They all look good. The best thing about the gold jacket from Hager is it blends with a lot of different colors. You can wear it with blue or black, or I'll tell you what, though.
We're going to get one.
My Bears fan bias is going to come through here, but Mike Singletary today was wearing a black button-down shirt with a gold tie and his gold jacket, and he looked really, really good. And he's just looking really good in general right now. He's looking really healthy.
Wow.
But I'll tell you what, last night, Eric Allen was all black suit, black shirt, and the newest Hager designs for us a new Hall of Fame tie every year with repeating logos on it.
Ooh,
and they went with our old school logo for the 2024, which is the most recent one we have, the 2024 design. So that was black. He looked really good. So,
all right.
Yeah, there's
great answer.
There's a lot of guys who know how to sport that jacket.
Great answer. All right. And finally, Pat's pick brought to you by MyBookie Sportsbook. So, Rich, this is your pick. Who's going to win the game and why? Chiefs, Eagles, Super Bowl 59.
Well, we had a Super Bowl pool. We have a Super Bowl pool at work, and I decided to play it because the winner gets a day off. And I thought, for a free day off, I might as well make a prediction.
Why not? Can you enter it twice?
That's right. Stuff the ballot box with all the possible combinations. I went Eagles 26, Chiefs 21.
All right. I like that pick. All right. He is Rich Desrosiers, Chief Communications Officer at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Very informative, educational, and entertaining conversation. Rich, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
And for being such a great guest. You get a free bag of Boom Chaga Mushroom Super Drink. It's a natural extract loaded with anti-inflammatories, immune-boosting antioxidants. You take it in the morning, gives you a little kick. That's what it does for me.
Good.
Anyway, thanks again.
All right. Thank you, sir.